Looks like we're live. Just give me a second here. Just checking everything out and making sure everything's going well. I'm here. Okay, hope everyone is doing well today. And welcome, welcome. It's Shirley from Around to It, and I'm just going to get some things set up here, if I can figure out what I'm doing. Okay. Hi, Gladys. I just need to find some, oh, there it is, okay. Thanks for joining in today, Gladys. Gladys is one of my moderators, the Confident Quilter. And I just getting some things set up here, and I'm hoping that everything is working okay. We'll do a volume check. Looks like the volume is okay. Okay. And I just need to click a few things here. Okay. So as the picture on my, hi So Terry, as the picture on my on the video said, I'm working with the CHURN Dash, but I thought I'd show you in behind me. This is what I've been working on. The one here on the where my thumb is, or my hand over here, that is the hi Lisa, Awkward Quilter, Georgia. Oh, I look and sound marvelous. Okay, no problem. Anyway, this one here is the square in a square block, and I made that into a small table runner, and I found some fabrics that kind of went with it. I usually work with scraps that I have, so nothing is very fantastic. That was done with the paper piecing. Now over here, this is the ribbon twist that I did. Now I did 5 blocks, and then I did another 5 blocks, and I did a sashing in between, and then added a border. If I don't want to match seams, I put sashing in. What you see in the middle is actually the ribbon twist, but if you notice in the center, the first paper piecing that I did, I made the block, and what I did was, it's going one way. I cut the fabric out with this one, and I cut it from my template pieces with the right side of the fabric up. Now the one in the middle there, this happened last night. I wanted to make a couple of Christmas table runners, and when I was looking on Pinterest and everything, I noticed that some of the ribbon twists, the center was facing the other way. So I went on a kind of a I don't know what you want to call it, but I went ahead and I cut out my fabrics with the wrong side of the fabric up, and that didn't work. So what I did, I had to go back in, and to have it reversed like that, and I'm not sure which way I like it, whether the center block or center part of that block is facing left or right. So I went in and I did another just the paper, the stitching template, and I reversed everything so it would come out right. So I learned that, okay, I just can't cut my fabrics out the wrong way, or the opposite of what I did. One was cut right side up, the other one was cut wrong side up. So I've learned a lesson there, is always cut my fabrics right side up the way I have been. And then I'll have to reverse it if I make another one. But I did cut out the, did the ones, and then I made a note on my template, on my stitching template, that on this one here, that I have to cut the fabrics wrong side up to get it to go the opposite way. Hi, Kathy. Great to see you here. Okay, so let's get started on the churn dash. The one I designed for paper piecing is 9.5 inches unfinished and 9 inches finished. Are you guys getting an ad? Crap. Oh, okay. RV Quilt Quest. Hi, Rhonda. You're a new subscriber, sent here by Kathy from Kathy's Quilts and Crafts. Welcome. It's great to have you here. I hope I don't bore you too much. Get my chat back up here. Okay, so let's go on to the churn dash block. And I have to tell you, right before I started this live, I got a notification that my computer needed an update, so I avoided doing that before I came on live. So now I'm going to switch the camera, and I will switch the camera and I'll show you the desk. Okay, so here is the churn dash block I made, and when I made the stitching templates and the fabric templates and everything, and I didn't know what I was going to put where. Hi, Mary Jane, great to see you. Great, just everybody go listen, and not a problem. So this is the first page. Now I know you can't see it very well here, but I have the block, a basic block, and then right beside it on page 1 I have the block, and over here I have colored in areas. So on this particular one I colored these two in and these two, and that sort of gave me an idea of what I wanted it to look like. You can make it scrappy or whatever. So in this top section here, from this, I made a note that, okay, I want A5 to be white, A2 to be white, A6, and so on, whatever I decided. Then what I did was, on this side, to make things a little easier for me, I wrote down the pieces that I'm going to need to cut from white. So it was A2, 5, 6, B1, B4, B5, C1, C5, and C6. And then my first print, which was this one, That was my print 1. So I wrote down A1, C2, B2, and B3. And then for my second print, I wrote down what I needed for my second print, and that was A3, 4, C3, and C4. So that's the first page. And I think I just did another copy on the back of this so I could use one piece of paper if I was going to do any more. So that is pretty much how I decided to put my colors together. And then from there, I had printed that out. So then I printed out my copies. One is a stitching template, the fabric templates. And page 3, page 4, and page 5. And I know you could probably find a diagram or a pattern to do it regular piecing, but I'm into FPP because I love the accuracy of it. So then I printed off my copies and everything, and I printed them out on freezer paper like I usually do. And then I decided I would sort of put up a mock-up of what it could be. So the picture you're seeing here is just a mock-up of what you can do with the pieces from a block like this. If you made all your blocks in one or two colors and put them together, that would be sort of what it looked like. Here I've done one with two colors and put them together. Then here, what I've done here is I've put them together, put sashing in between, added a little border on the outside, and then I added a final border on the outside. So that's pretty much how I go about figuring out what I'm going to do. Okay, if anytime you have questions or whatever, you can just tag me in the chat and I'll keep going on here. So those are my papers. Now in behind here, just give me a second here. Okay, I work in a real tiny space, so everything has to be kind of scrunched in. But I have a big design board here, as you can see here. And this is where I've put out all my pieces. And here are my stitching templates. And I have cut fabrics out. And I have on my little fabric template here, place on right side of fabric. I've also, I don't write anything on these because I don't need to. From the diagram on the paper here, I've labeled whether it was white or print 1 and then print 2. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense. For a minute there I got confused. So that's my big board, and this is just a, it's a artist canvas, and I just covered it with green felt. And then I have it just on a little board there. So I have everything laid out, and I've cut out pieces, and I have cut out extra. I just haven't cut out for another print. I only have one print there. Okay, so let's get putting this together. And I cut out everything, and what I did was, hopefully you can, if I put this back far enough, maybe, my phone is in the way there, but I'll need that in a minute. Anyway, let's get on with it. So, first of all, I guess maybe I should ask, how is everybody doing today? Hope you're all doing well. I'm surviving, as usual. And so now what am I going to do? I'm going to set this aside back here. And if I have to refer to it or whatever, I can do that. Okay, I have everything cut out. And so I'm going to take my first stitching template. And that is, I'll start with A, and there's 3 pieces to this. I'm going to put the camera down and show you on the desk. Okay, camera down, Shirley. There we go. So it's done in 3 pieces, and we're going to join the 3 pieces together. And they're labeled, it's on freezer paper, and I've cut them out just like I did in the other videos. And I will, if I have time, I will show you how I lay my fabrics out to do the second print, or the other 2 prints. So on this one, hopefully I've got this right, we're going to start with A section. And with A section, I'm going to take and put the A1 paper template, which is A1. And that's from print 1. And that's what I decided my print 1 should be. So I'll set that aside. I'm going to flip this over, place this on. And I'm using my baking sheet so I don't get any glue stuck to my iron. And I'm just going to flip this over now. And I want a little bit of that fabric on the bottom. And if I look at this, I can see my lines here. So I have enough fabric on both sides. And so if I fold it along the line between A1 and 2, I have lots here. Your first piece, you will need a little extra fabric because you're placing it on. And now I have to use my little mini iron here. And I'm just going to iron this on. Press it on, I guess you'd say. So I'll just press that on. And I have to just use this. This iron doesn't get as hot as my other ones, so I'm just going to move this over. And so now what I need to do is I need to fold it along the line between A1 and A2. Now I've pre-folded all my papers first, just so that it makes it easier as I go along. Just going to fold that back. I'll set this off to the side. So I don't need those 2 pieces for now. And then I'm going to trim that away with my 1/4 inch ruler. Remember, you don't need an add 1/4 ruler. You can use your regular ruler and just cut your seam allowance. So I'm just going to trim that off. And I have a clean scrap bucket here. I always like to save my scrap to see that I'm, just exactly how much waste I am doing with this, with the way I do it. So now we're going to take, and we want to add A2. So we're going to take from A2. Here's my A2, and it is white. I have an extra one there. And because I cut it with the right side of the fabric up, doesn't matter on plain fabrics. Oops, I gotta... Oh. I've got dinging. Okay, so right side of the fabric is up, so when I take the bottom one off, if I put it like this, there's the two right sides of my fabric. So I'll just take that and line up the cut edges. Just give it a turn so that when I bring it towards me, I can just flip it up like this, and it's matched up. And now all I have to do is sew along the folded edge of my freezer paper. Deborah Malinowski, I hope I've pronounced your name right. Welcome. Glad you could stop by today. Okay, so I'm going to now just sew right along there. There's no starting and stopping at a certain point. It's just straight stitching across. So now I just have to turn my camera on here and move a few things out of the way. I'm constantly moving things out of the way because... Okay, now I'll switch the camera to the sewing machine, and lost my mouse. Okay. Whoops. There we are. Just give me 1 second. I don't know what that is, but anyway. So now all I'm going to do is just take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to do a back stitch. This fold here is telling me where my next stitching line is, so I'll back stitch here and here. I won't back stitch right at the very end. And now I'll take this to the sewing machine, and hopefully, yes, okay. Now again, the foot I'm using is a Stitch in the Ditch foot, and that actually, I use that all the time for most of my sewing. It does give me an accurate 1/4 inch if I line up the fabric right at this inner edge here. So now I'm just going to put my presser foot down, needle down, and now my feed dogs are down. And then when I slide my paper underneath, I can feel the needle hitting the edge of the paper, and I can see my little guide in the center here. And as I stitch, I'm not watching the needle. All I'm doing is watching this little tip, and I can make a straight seam. When I come into where that fold is, I can see it, and now I'm going to do just a little back stitch and come forward. And the camera is shaking, I think. When I get down to the very end here, I can see that fold, so I know that that's where my stitching is going to be. So I will do a little back stitch there and then come right off the end. And our first seam is done. No guesswork or anything. My thread cutter was giving problems this morning, so I didn't use that. So now this A2 section I'm just going to put back up here, because I know that when I'm done, I can always cut extras and use that piece from there. So now we're just going to press that seam. Thanks for sharing the channels. Oh, Mom and Pop. Oh my goodness, I should have. Okay, I have to stop and read chat here for a bit. Mom and Pop Quilt Shop. Hey, hey, all you cool kids. Popping in real quick with a hello and glad to see you. Very great to see you too, Mum. Laura Lynn. Hello, Mom and Pop Quilt Shop. And yes, and Gladys will, very great, Gladys. I'm glad you're doing that for me. Oh, thank you very much. It's nothing spectacular. Okay, so we're gonna press. So what I'm gonna do first is just flip my piece over, and even though it looks a little bit wonky, I'm okay with that because I did add extra. I can see my fold lines here, so I know when I fold this up, it's going to cover what I need, and it's covering a little bit extra on the top. Now I like to press my seams open, and the reason for that is that as I go along, I never know which way I'm supposed to press them. Thank you, Laura Lynn. So I press them open. With regular paper piecing, you can't do that. When you stitch beside the folded edge, you now have the option of pressing your seams towards that fabric, toward the bird fabric, or pressing them this way, depending on which is the darker fabric, or, and with me, because like I said, I don't like to figure out which way to press my seams. I'm just going to use the, this is just Acorn Precision Piecing Liquid, and I just put it in a water brush. I do have the what is it, the pen that they, that it came with, but I find I have a tendency to use a little too much. So anyway, I've got that moistened, and you don't need very much. So now I'm going to just give this a little finger press after I've moistened that seam, and I'm just going to give it a quick little finger press, and now I'm going to open up my seam. And again, just give it a quick little finger press. And then as I flip this underneath, my seam will stay open. And now I can just press with my little mini iron. And I'll flip it to the right side, or the paper side, and press from the paper side. I find that pressing it from the paper side makes it stick a little bit better. And I've already used this piece of paper to make the first block there that I did. Okay, so now we're going to go on to A3. I'll fold this back, use my add a quarter, and just butt it up against the folded edge of the paper and trim that off, and that goes in my scrap bucket. So now we're going to add A3. So I'm going to flip this over. A3, I can barely see it, but it's over here. So I'm going to take my A3, and because I've cut it with the right side of the fabric up, this is the right side of the fabric, I'm just going to take this off, place that to the side, and put right sides together the same way you do it with any other regular piecing. So there is my piece on there, right sides together. So I'm going to bring this forward, fold that back, and now I can see where I need to stitch, and I'm just going to stitch right along the edge of the paper. And I'll just switch back to the other camera. My phone overheats, so I have to keep turning my phone off. So just give me 1 second here. Okay. Okay, so we're at the sewing machine again. So now I'm again, take my threads and get those out of the way. Presser foot down, needle down. My presser foot comes up. If yours doesn't, you'll have to use the hand wheel. My feed dogs are down, so when I slide this underneath, my guide is right at the fold line here of the paper, and just stitch. It's no different than when you're putting half square triangles. And if you notice that the way it's probably put together, the regular way, you're going to be making half square triangles. And I don't really like half square triangles. Okay, so now we're going to press. And it's just a very repetitive thing. The only thing is I don't have to worry about accurate quarters and seam line. And Mom and Pop, Laura Lynn says she's got to go prep dinner, and she's lurking. 5:33 p.m. here. Yes, I know. Another Canadian friend. Okay, so I'm just giving that a quick brush with the water pen. And the thing I like about the water pen too is that I just have to squeeze it. I don't have to press down. And I just put the liquid into it. And I can feel that it's just damp. So now I'm going to press this over. And when I check from this side, you can see I have extra fabric on the back here that I need, because we're going to trim this up all at the end. So now I'm going to press that seam open. So you have the option using freezer paper or stitching beside the line. You have the option, if you have dark fabrics that you don't want to see the shadow of a dark fabric in behind a white. And like I said before, I never know which way to press my seams, so that's why I press them open. Just giving that a good press. So now we're going to go on to A4. So I'll take this, set it off to the side. Have a great supper, Laura Lynn, or dinner, I guess. So now I'm going to fold this back, and I want to trim so I have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And again, I'm just trimming the seam allowance. However, you're not really worried about sewing with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You're just sewing beside the paper. So now I'm going to take my A4 piece, and I'll grab it from my board behind me, and there's the A4. And because I cut it with the right side of the fabric again, when I place it on there, it's going to be in the correct position to fold it over. I'll match the cut edges, and you don't have to worry about being exact here because there is extra fabric. I have that on here now, and I'm just going to stitch that again. I will, oops. Try again. Okay, just give me a second. There we go. Got it back now. So again, just repetitive, just stitching like you would any other piecing project that you have. The only thing is you don't have to worry about your 1/4 inch seam allowance or whatever. Just going to trim my threads here off to the side. And now we're pressing again. It's just a repetitive, and that's what I like about it. I gotta switch that back. Okay, so again, just giving that a little bit of that precision piecing solution. That just makes everything look really nice and flat. I'll fold this over, give it a little finger press. Now fold it back. No questions? Or is everybody just lurking and sewing? Pardon me. And now I will flip this over so that my seam is open underneath, and just give it a press. You just don't want to touch your iron to the freezer paper. Freezer paper is plastic coated, not wax coated. And I prefer it. I don't have to use pins. I have options by stitching again on the folded side. Okay, so we now have this part of it done. Now we have to add the rest of our half square triangles. So I'm going to flip this over. I've done A4, so now I'm going to go and fold it along the edge. I have to stop lurking now. Awkward quilter. Lisa, got to finish up my work for the day. You'll have a good one. Y'all have a good one. We will certainly try. Thanks for stopping in, Lisa. So now I'm just going to trim that excess fabric off. And now we're going to put A5 on. I'll fold it this way. I'll pick up my A5 from my board in behind me and place it down. Flip it over and match up the cut edges and turn it so when I bring it forward I can bring it to the edge of my mat. And now I'm just going to check and see. I haven't lined this up very well, but you don't have to. I can see that I have excess here and my seam line is right here, so I know I have excess there, and I should be able to just now stitch across that. And to save a bit of time and everything, I will just, okay, here is my folded edge of the paper, and when I line that up, I have extra here, and I have extra down here. So that's how I lined that up to make sure that I have enough to trim off at the end. So now, just to save time, I'm not going to repeat what I did with the showing you the sewing machine, because it's just basically pretty much just sewing. I've showed you what I do, and as long as you watch the tip of your guide, you can sew right along the edge of that paper. So we'll just give this another shot with the pressing solution and fold that back into the finished position and press our seam open. And I'm just making sure that I give it a good finger press just at where the seam is and going along like this. And do we have any questions or anything? Nobody's chatting. What's everybody been up to? What have you been making? You can't tell me that you're not making anything, because I've seen Gladys and I've seen Kathy busy away on their channels. I'm just going to give that a press from the right side just to make that stick to the fabric. And now we're just going to go on to A6. And I should have probably just gone ahead and made one section of this, but oh well. The next block I'm going to be making, I will show you at the end. So there is my A6. I'm working on a Christmas. I've been kind of doing Christmas things. So I do have a couple of quilts that I have to quilt. The only thing was my sewing machine was out of commission for a bit. And I also have another sewing machine set up so that I'm going to be making some bags. Okay, I've lined that all up, and now we'll just take that to the sewing machine. If you want to see me stitch this on the sewing machine, just comment in the chat and okay, I'm back. I'll have to set up a camera where you can see me doing both. Okay, and now I'm just going to double check here. And yes, I have fabric all the way around the outside. I made a Lincoln log block today out of Lori Holt's Scrappiness is Happiness book. Yes, actually, Kathy, I was lurking, but I was busy sewing up my ribbon twist there. Ribbon pull, ribbon twist, and trying to figure out what my next project was going to be. And it's going to be a star block for a Christmas table runner. I usually only work with small projects. Deborah says she is making her oldest son a quilt using the beginning dragon fabric. Oh, Deborah, I made one for my son-in-law. And I don't know whether I can show you, but it's it was a California king, and he didn't even want to put it on the bed. He wanted to put it on the wall, and I said, no, I made it for him to use, to put it on the bed and everything. And but yeah, I did that a couple of years ago for Father's Day. My daughter wanted me to make him a quilt out of that. And I have a couple of panels. That's the one with the panel in the center, right? Mine was, the one I made was in the orange colors. And I quilted it on my machine using an edge-to-edge design. So there is our first row done. 2 half square triangles, and they're all put together. And so what I'll do right now is I will trim this up. And when I trim it up, I'm going to put on my, this is just a, yoga glove that I got. And the reason I use that is because I have problems when I line up my ruler, and I'm going to line up the 1/4 inch mark along the 1/4 inch line here, which is a dotted stitching line, because that's my stitching and that's my cut line. So I'm going to put this on so that there is a white line on this ruler, and I'm going to line that white line up just on the right hand side of those dots. Now this gives me a bit of grip, so I've found lately that I've been miscutting because my ruler slips. Even though this is a Creative Grids ruler, it's supposed to be non-slip, but I can make it slip. So I'm just going to put my Go Zone 3-pound weight on it. The glove is going to give me a grip, so when I'm trimming, I have a tendency to push against the ruler, and that's what makes the ruler slide. So I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to just give some pressure down here and just trim away that extra fabric that I've got. So it just gives me extra protection here. Well, I've cut through my finger once, and hopefully that'll be the last time. But by using just this 3-pound weight and keeping my hand away from the edge, it's less chances of me cutting myself. Now, just in the comments, I do have the templates and everything for this block. I just haven't put them in the video description, the description below the video. But if you would like those, just comment in the chat, and I will put those in as a PDF file. I'll also put them on my Around To It Facebook page, and I'll probably put them like I did the last time. I put them in the community chat, that all you have to do is download the PDF, and you'll have all the templates. Just, I didn't put any instructions. Okay, so there's my first row all done, and when I check it, it should measure 9.5, and it measures 9.5 by this. I think it's 3 3.5. So that's the first row. So now we're going to go on to the second row, which is B. Yes, I know, it's just a simple thing. I could have just cut it out of regular fabric. measured it out and everything, but I do have a tendency to miscut when I'm cutting fabric. I'm just going to press that down a bit so the fabric sticks to it and I don't lose it. So it's B1. Now I want to press this on. I'm going to flip this over and making sure that I have it, just flipping it over, placing it on. And now I'm just going to give it a flip like this, and now I can see my stitching lines. And I should have excess fabric here beyond those stitching lines, and some at the top and the bottom. And we'll just press that on. Thank you for sharing my Facebook page, Gladys. I really appreciate that. So nice to have YouTube friends. Okay, so now I'm going to fold along between B1 and B2. And we'll just trim off so we have 1/4 of an inch seam allowance beyond that folded edge. And I'm now going to, from in behind me, I'm going to pick up my little B2 template. Now it doesn't look right, but when you flip it over and lay this down, it's the same as you're doing whatever. Now this piece, it doesn't matter. So now do I want my little birdie facing up or facing down? I think I want them facing up. So this one I can switch it. I don't want an upside down bluebird. You can't do that on all the pieces, but okay. And now that's ready to sew. Once I have all my pieces and everything cut out and laid out, sewing is a breeze. So now we're just going to press again. We'll give this a little bit of moisture. I found when I was using the pen that they gave us to use the Easy Press solution, I found I wasted an awful lot of it. It was just, I just didn't need to use that much. And it is, the Easy Press solution is not a starch. It's a, it's really not a starch. It's just a, and it's not a glue. It's just a starch alternative is, I guess, what they call it. The same thing as Best Press. And another fabric, or another product is called Flatter. But I do prefer the, Best Press. Not only that, but it's a Canadian company. Okay, I have done B2. Now we're going to go on to B3. So I have to fold and trim. I haven't found that paper piecing is boring. It is repetitive, but I like it because once I get my fabrics cut and everything, it's just a matter of putting things together. So B3 is what I'm working with. So I'll take B3. And we have another upside down bluebird, so I guess we better put them this way. There we go. take that to the sewing machine. And Deborah, if you're still here, where are you from? You don't have to give me just, are you in Canada or are you in the U.S.? Oops, I forgot my water brush. Got distracted there for a moment. I know a lot of my subscribers are from the U.S. And I'm still wearing my glove because my hands also are get very, I don't know, slippery. And I just found with the glove it just gives me better grip when I'm sewing. And just give it another press. B3 is in the books. Next number is B4. So I'm just going to go a little faster here. Just try to U.S. Sterling Heights area. And I wish I would know where that is, but being Canadian, we did have to learn everything when I was in high school, but that's many years ago. You like the mini iron. I do too. It doesn't get quite as hot as I would like, but the alternative to a mini iron like this, it didn't have a temperature control. I do have another mini iron that I use. It's this unique one, but I have found, now it's not, this one isn't steam fast, so this one does not have a recall on it. But this one, I find the bottom gets really, really dirty, and I don't know what caused it. I think maybe this one has just too high of a heat. It used to steam, and now it doesn't anymore. But I don't use steam. I do pre-wash all my fabrics, but I still think that steaming will shrink fabrics. Okay, I'm working on B4 now. So, I don't want to do that. What did I just do? I trimmed that. Okay. So now we're going to grab B4 from my board behind me. Flip this over. Yes, this one goes back. And right sides of fabric together. Hi, Brenda Foley. How are you doing today? Got anything to share with us, what you're working on? It's great to have you here. I'm glad you stopped by. Just stitching up this seam here, and I see Brenda and everybody on other channels. I lurk an awful lot, and I usually watch the lives and everything replay. A lot of times I'm busy trying to think of what I'm going to do next, because I can come up with some wonderful ideas that I never get around to. Oh, you're driving home from work. Drive safely. I know a lot of the channel members or channel subscribers work, and I don't know how they fit everything in. Even the YouTubers the quilters that get all this stuff done, and I don't know how they do it. I mean, I'm retired, and it seems like I never get half as much done as I would like to. So now we're going to be working on B5. So it's in the upright position. Trim it off. And now we're going to, what am I doing now? B5. Grab my B5. Did I forget to cut a B3 piece? What's my B4? I don't know, but anyway, I don't have fabric, so B5 has got to be white. Okay, yes. I just put it back on the board in the wrong place. There we go. B5 is on the outside. I just rearranged my board so I'd know where everything was. So now we're just going to stitch that seam up. And again, just a reminder, there's no point in back stitching right at the edge, because you're going to trim that off. So you'll be trimming off your back stitching. I back stitch in this area right here and right in here. And Brenda says, Archer at stoplights, I'm working on the Civil War sampler. Oh, okay. I have a limited budget. I always say I'm physically, financially, and mentally challenged. Not all three at the same time, thank heavens. And I'm kidding. I am on a strict budget, though. I used to be a garment sewer, and now I'm trying to use up a lot of fabrics that I have from garment days. And making them into quilts. This block is not going to be very spectacular, but hey, it's using up fabrics. Okay, there's my B done, and now all I have to do is trim it up. And again, I'm going to use my ruler, line that white 1/4 inch mark along that stitching line, so I have 1/4 inch beyond. And now get my fingers out of the way, and as you can see there, I just messed up. I was in too big of a hurry, and I have trimmed. I pushed too hard against the ruler. but not a big deal. I've trimmed a little bit too much away. And my blade just didn't want to cut there. And now, is that going to matter? No. I've cut off a lot of my black line there, but I will be adjusting that when I go to sew the two blocks together, or the two rows together. And we'll try not to do that. And as you can see, I still haven't come up with a solution to stop me from pushing too far against the ruler. If I just put pressure down and not towards the side. And it doesn't hurt the template at all because I'm lining up the ruler, the 1/4 inch line. So I can still use that piece of paper. And now, make sure I get this done right. So what else can everybody tell me? I find my viewers aren't very talkative. I guess we could talk about food, right? That usually gets everybody going. I'm having a TV dinner tonight. Didn't feel like cooking. Last week I did a lot of pre-cooking. Made roast, hamburger, a couple of roast, hamburger. Okay, so there is my B section. And that goes in like this. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. And now we're going to go on to the C section. And what am I doing? I want C1. So I'll grab C1 from my board. And that's right, I do need my ironing section. Put C1 back. And C1 is at the bottom. So we'll put it on here. Flip it over. Line it up so that I can see just a little bit of the fabric over the edge. And just from here and here, I can see that I have extra to cut. And then when I fold it back along the line between C1 and 2, I have lots of fabric there to trim off. You really can't see that because of the white against the white. And I do have the pressing or the baking sheets from the dollar store just underneath, so I don't get the stickiness of the paper onto there. And it's not going to hurt anything. The paper comes off, it doesn't leave any residue or anything. It just collects the lint on the back of the freezer paper. Okay, so now we're going to trim between C1 and C2. Make sure my ruler's lined up. And again, if you trim this wrong, it doesn't matter. You can have more than that because we're stitching along the edge. And now we want C2. So from my board, I will grab and pick up C2. Flip this over. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. Don't know where that came from. And oh, look at that. My birds are in the right direction this time. Okay, C2. Both sides of the fabric, right side up. So now I'm going to put those together. My little birdies will be facing the right side. Now I'll just take that to the sewing machine again. I was using voice. I meant to say I chat at stoplights. Okay, no problem. No problem. I kind of go with the flow. I know sometimes I just can't think of the words. I think if I used voice, oh God, I don't know what would come out of my mouth, or what would, I know what would come out of my mouth, I just don't know what would, they would, yeah, the challenges. Thank you. Bless me. Oh, Courtney, how are you doing? Courtney is another channel content creator, and she does FPP as well. Mind you, she does the complicated ones. I have done a couple. The only thing is that because I can't afford to buy all the things, I usually look for free patterns, and Courtney has some free FPP that she's been doing. See, Courtney, I have been watching. Yes, I lurk in a lot, and mainly because I need new glasses, and I can't read chat and work on my projects that I'm working on and just listen. So I have to take my glasses off, and then I listen, and I don't chat. But Courtney, I am in the background. I know I should just say hi. And the other thing is, if I say hi, and then everybody says hi to me, and I feel like I should say hi back. So that's why a lot of times I don't say hi on the channel. Is because I feel bad because I can't read chat and see who is saying hi to me. So a lot of times I'll come in and I'll just say hello everyone, and then you never hear from me again, mainly because I can't see. Pieces, Love, and Quilting. Yes, that is Courtney. Courtney, I think it's Sturbins. Yes, good enough, Courtney, no problem. I'm glad you stopped in. I appreciate it. But yes, and Courtney does her paper piecing different than I do, and that's okay. I don't mind. I know I've been criticized for the way I do it, but so C3 now. People say, why would you want to go to all that trouble? It's because I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and by doing it this way, I kind of keep myself focused. I've been quilting for about, 7 years, but because I've been sewing for many, I've developed a lot of habits that, some are good, some are bad. And I am a perfectionist. I don't achieve perfection, but I do achieve accuracy. And if Gladys has shared Courtney's channel, and if you aren't subscribed to her channel, just pop over there, check her out, and subscribe. I totally, I watch so many YouTube channels that it's ridiculous. And and even when people in the chats and everything like that, they'll ask a question or something, and it's like, yeah, I know the answer, but it's so hard to describe in a sentence, in words. And I'm a bit of a visual learner, and a lot of times I struggle with trying to say things that, this is what I'm doing. I think by showing you what I'm doing and everything, that kind of helps, but you do you. Everyone has to find their own groove. Exactly. And this is the way I do it. It's just another way to do it. And there are so many. Actually, I saw this on one, using the freezer paper. I saw that, I'm working on C4. I saw a YouTuber doing it, and I thought, well, I'm going to try that. Okay, I want to cut along that line, or a 1/4 inch away from that line. And that's where I don't want that ruler. Let's use the right ruler. Yeah, and everybody's machine is different. Some of the questions that they'll ask is, what foot is the best for a 1/4 inch seam allowance and everything like that. And actually, there's really not a right answer, because each machine is different. And I'm working on C4. See, I forgot where I was. Okay, here's C4. Remove my paper, and we'll sew this on. But what I like about FPP is that making traditional blocks using the FPP, I've avoided making half square triangles the traditional way, and flying geese. Those were my two biggest problems. And getting an accurate seam allowance. And that's why I've decided that when I go to make a block or whatever, like this one is a basic CHURN dash, and I just do it the way it makes sense to me. Hopefully there's somebody else out there that it makes sense to. And of course, when I was, I'm going to press that open. When I was learning to quilt, I didn't have a guild or anything, because I just didn't have a place to go, and I pretty much stay at home. And so I learned everything from YouTube, and I learned the things, I tried everything. Whatever there was, I tried it. I took scraps of fabric and put things together, and a lot of them I found. Hi, Lori Clark. How you doing? I found out there was a lot of things like half square triangles, that the bias edge and things like that. So I learned, yes, you can make half square triangles, but if you've end up with bias edges on the outside of a block, it makes it harder to work with. It's not impossible, but it just makes it harder. Okay, we're trimming. 2 more pieces and we'll have all the rows put together. And they should be pretty accurate. Now, what am I doing? I've done C3, C4, now what, C5. So I'll flip this over. And I think I forgot to trim. I did. Okay, C5. This way, this way. Got an extra piece there, so we'll put that back on the board. Line it up. Make sure I can see a little bit of fabric beyond that edge there and up here. And that looks good. My foot pedal kind of got stuck on something there. So what other crafts or whatever is anybody into? Like, do you knit? Do you crochet? Do you cross stitch? I kind of do everything. I've tried just about everything. Except stained glass. I haven't tried stained glass. But I have tried a lot of things. What I found, one thing I found very interesting is, what do they call it? Oh, origami. It was like you have these little squares. Oh, I've made so many of them when, that's what I did when I wasn't feeling good. I would do origami. And I cut the little squares and put them all together and everything. And it was like, oh, I got to do another one and put it this way. And that's sort of like what I am with quilting, is I like to, I make one and then it's like, well, what if I use these fabrics and put this fabric here and that fabric there? And too many ideas run through my head. And I'm not one that's up on fabrics like Lori Holt fabrics, Allison Glass, and things like that. Just in Canada, I live in Calgary here, and the fabrics just aren't available like they are in the U.S. Now I just have to lift this up here and check and make sure that seam is laying flat. It is, okay. Okay, our last triangle for our half square triangle. Oh, I must have trimmed C6 when I wasn't looking. Well, that's a bonus. I don't have to do that. So C6. And I've got an extra piece, so that'll go back on the board. Line this up. Make sure I have enough on this end. And on that end. That looks pretty good. Yes, Kathy, you crochet, you cross stitch, you needlepoint, hexagons, yo-yos, diamond art, and quilting. Yes. Kathy does a lot of things on her channel. And Gladys helps her along with that. Gladys is her buddy. Gladys, I hope you shared your channel link too, and your Facebook page. Okay, last trim, and then we'll take the paper off and trim this up, take the paper off, and stitch the two seams. And I'll show you how I match up the seams. Now that red bird is going to be right side up. I thought my little red bird was going to be upside down, but I think it's going to be okay. When I cut out the fabric, I didn't watch where I was cutting, like to see if it was a directional print, but I don't think it really was directional, but when I cut it out, I didn't pay any attention to which way the things were going, so I could have got some upside down birds. And I don't know whether you can hear it, but in the background is my bird. My daughter bought me a budgie bird. So he is my friend now. I live alone, and my bird is my friend. I get to talk to somebody now. Okay, last step, trim. And Shirley, remember, don't put too much pressure on. That's not what I want. Line this up again. I'm going to have to do just some lives, just knitting and chatting. Oh, Ellen Campbell, welcome. Campbell's Creation, Learning to Quilt. Hashtag quilt and sew. Yes, Ellen, how are you doing? I saw Ellen's, Ellen was making a churn dash, but she used scraps. So in the section, in these sections here, what she did was she used scraps of fabric, and they were stitched together, and she did put them all together like that, and she made a scrappy one. I just can't bring myself to really do scrappy. I guess I'm just too, I don't know, I'm just too matchy. Great to have Ellen here. But yeah, I think that, I'm sure it was a churn dash, wasn't it, Ellen? Like I said, I may not always chat, but I do watch. And Brenda Foley says she crochets, cross stitch, and still garment sew. I haven't sewn a garment in quite a long time. I did make myself a top, but I was a stretch and sew instructor and worked in fabric shops, had a fabric shop. But that was back in the days when I was young and foolish. Yes, Alan, thanks for confirming that. Okay, we are done putting our block or our rows together. And I didn't have any trouble figuring out anything. Oh, look at that. The two birds are right side up. Oh, don't you just love it when that happens? We don't have upside down birds. Okay, and those are going to match up beautifully. That's kind of a blob block, but now we're going to take the paper off. And with freezer paper, it's a matter of just peeling it back. And because I've backstitched my seams and everything, so there's our, whoops, that's the top because the birds are upside down if I put it the other way. So A, B, and C. Oh, quilt jackets, yes. Do you know, when I worked for Stretch and Sew, they came out with a pattern for a vest, and it was strip pieced. And they had us ripping or tearing the fabric into strips, 1-inch strips, and then we stitched them onto like a batting type of thing. And I made the vest. The only thing was that, I mean, I never wore it out, but it was sort of the Eleanor Burns. When she started out, she would, I think she would tear her fabrics into strips. Okay, so now how do I put this together? Well, I think I've showed you a few hints before, but we'll go through this. I don't need this, do I? No, I need, what do I need here? Let's put this off to the side. And now, I want things to match up. So this is the way things are going to go together, making sure I don't twist them. Oh, make your own. Yeah, great, Brenda. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two pieces and put this middle one on top, just flip it over. I'm going to leave it up a bit so I can see the fabric underneath. And to match my seams, the only seams I have to match are right here, and then just line up my edges. And for that, I use the Acorn glue, and that is the Seam Align Gentle Hold fabric glue. And the other thing I do is, because I cannot determine a 1/4 inch, I'm going to line up my ruler so that on the cut edge of the fabric, that 1/4 inch mark is there. And just with my friction pen, I am just going to put a little line on the right side of the underneath one. It's facing up. Put a little line, and then do the 1/4 inch on the wrong side of the fabric there, or the block or row I have on top. And that's how I'm going to line up my seams and use the glue. I could wing it, but like I said, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I do like accuracy. So now my little pins, I use these little, I'm not sure what kind of pins they are, but they're heat resistant, and they these are nice and small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of those pins and put it right in at the seam and the 1/4 inch mark, and make sure that it comes out right on the seam. That's a little bit off. You can't see it, but I can. And that is pretty darn close, so I'll do the same thing on this one. Put that right in the middle of the seam. And that has come out right where I want it to. And now put a dab of glue on the end. And remember, only a little bit. You don't need much of this glue. Right here, I am going to put a little bit of glue, just run it across where I have my line. Now we'll put one in the middle. And now with my pin, I'm going to put it right in at that mark that I drew, straight up and down, and push it in. And same thing with this one, put it right at that seam where it crosses over there, and that lines everything up. I'm going to match up my ends. If I have to tug it a little tiny bit, but you can see everything is the right size. Line this end up and just press it down. And on this side of the pin, just on the right hand side of the pin, because I put the line of glue across. Guess I could bring that up a bit, couldn't I? I'm just going to glue this down. Just a second, I missed chat here. I took a class at my local quilt shop. April Story was in the class with me. Oh, I know April Story. I know her, but not personally. And Ellen says, I'm sorry I gotten turned around, was trying to speak to you. My phone keeps spelling twice. Not a problem, Ellen. That block is so beautiful to me. I love a CHURN Dash block. Yes, this one is a little on the blah side. It could be more whatever. But anyway, so right here on the side of the pin, and because that pin is heat resistant, I've secured it on the side. I'll remove my pin and just press down. And again, in the other videos, I've shown exactly the same thing. And the glue, actually, the glue, Acorn Precision glue, you have to heat set it. But it does come apart very easily. When I ran out, I was using Elmer's, and I did not like it. And so when I went to the store, I bought 2 bottles of the Precision glue. Okay, so now that's glued together. I don't have to worry about pins. It's staying there, so now all I have to do is take that to the sewing machine and stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll back stitch at the beginning and the end, and we'll see how those points match up. I'm using the edge of my presser foot along the edge of the fabric. That last seam I'll show you how. I'll switch to the camera on the sewing machine. Okay, so now let's check our seams. And I don't know whether you can see it, but my seams are matching up quite nicely, and I'm happy with that. And again, I do like to press my seams open because, like I said, I never know which way I'm going to have to nest them. I'm just using a letter opener because I put glue along there. I'm just going to use a letter opener or whatever you have that'll just sneak in there and just release that glue. And it's not a permanent glue. That's just so I can release it so I can press my seams open nicely. Okay, and I'll give it a quick finger press to one side. And if you notice, my edges line up. I don't have any hangover one way or the other, and that's because I used the glue. So now we're going to just press that seam open. Whoops, where is my liquid? I don't use the Easy Press solution on, usually I don't do it on the right side, because I have had it that if my iron was dirty, the moisture and the bottom of the iron, it cleaned the bottom of the iron on my quilt block, let's put it that way. And so now I just use it and press mostly on the wrong side of the fabric. And I'm just opening that seam up with my fingers, and I'll press it open. You can, some people will use a clapper to get their seams nice and flat. You can also use what they call a pressing stick, which is just a piece of wood that's, I have mine covered with a piece of flannel, but that's just, I usually, when I'm trying to press long seams open so that I don't press any of the seams on either side. And this one is it's just a dowel, and so that's what it looks like. And one of my relatives cut a wooden dowel in half, and then I just covered it with flannel. And that you can put on like this. It does come in handy when you're pressing a long seam, and it stops you from disturbing the seams on either side. So I'm just giving that a good press like that. And I don't normally use this on short seams. It does make it nicer though. So that's pressed. So now we're going to add our bottom piece. And again, I'm going to lay it in the finished position. My birdies are up. This birdie is in the right position. Flip it up, put my marks on, and look for my ruler that I always lose stuff. Oh, here it is, right there. Okay. Mark on the right side of the underneath one. Little mark. Little mark. And this particular block, it's the marking isn't as critical, but if you're trying to match up points, I found marking it like this helps. So now we'll put a little glue. My hubby cut a broom handle in half, but I didn't put batting on it. Yeah, batting, the wood that is used, I know people have used, when they're making clappers and everything, they have used just, like, you know, 2x4s and things like that. But if that some of it's treated, and I think the wood that is used is not poplar. The wood that is used to make those things like that is a hardwood, and it is it's a hardwood, and I think it's white oak is what the purchased ones. They are more expensive, but you can use them. I just caution if you're using a 2x4, sometimes they're treated and whatever's in the wood can seep into your fabric and maybe cause a mark on your fabric if you don't cover it or whatever. So now I didn't, oh, that's perfect there. Okay, I'm just matching my seams up like I did before. And I do not put my pins in. You put a pin in and then you twist it, and that twists your seam. That's why I use this method, is because everything just comes together so nicely. Because as soon as I put a pin in, I end up distorting it. And I've got a little bit of a bubble right here. But if I just press that down, now it's still a little wobbly, so now I could have stretched something here or whatever, but I'm just going to use my Easy Press pen and just moisten it a little bit, because I don't want to get a pucker in there. And I'm just going to press it down. And the moisture will shrink that fabric just a little tiny bit, enough so that it'll all fit in. So when I've matched my seams and I have a little tiny of a bubble there, that's when I'll just moisten that seam. I know some people say just put it and put that on the bottom feed dogs, but my machine has a top feed, top feed as well. Yeah, he sanded it down. Yeah, I don't know what broom handles are made out of, but it works. And I don't think they're got any chemicals or anything in them. But yeah, sanding them down. You might, yeah. I know the one that I have, they used, oh, I can't even remember. He made it for me, and he, what's the other? It's not... Oh, I know there's a name for the type of wood, but if I put any kind of moisture on it, it makes the wood swell. That's why you want a real hard wood. But yeah, anything. Use anything. If it works, use it. Okay, what size is your finished block? My finished block is 9.5 inches unfinished, 9 inches finished. Okay, so now I'm just going to take that, and I will switch my sewing machine on, and we'll just switch that camera. There we are. Here, yep, I'm there. Okay, and now I am just using, to line this up, it's still the same foot, but my 1/4 inch is sort of right here at the edge of that foot. Also, when I put my presser foot down, it runs right along my feed dog. So I'll put this down, and hopefully my hand isn't in the way. And so I've got my needle down, and I can see the edge of the presser foot is right along that metal, right where the feed dogs are. So when I'm sewing, I'm watching this point right here and not watching here like I did before. I'm just going to butt that up in there, line it up with the edge of the foot, start sewing, back stitch. Oh, and I am using a 2.0 stitch length on my machine. It's a little bit shorter than a regular stitch. I don't need a long or a really short stitch because I'm not sewing through the paper. if I do make a mistake, it's easy to take out because I haven't stitched through the paper. And now I'm coming to the end, do a little back stitch, and right off the end. The other thing the glue does is that glue is, I find that when I use it, just give me 1 second here. When I use the glue, it seems to add just a little bit of stiffening at the end, and it keeps the edges together, and I don't get that coming off or short at the ends here. Greenland Quilter Katie. Hi, Katie. How are you doing? Hi, CC LQ. Campbell's. Yes. Great to have you here, Katie. I'm thinking it must be quite late where you are. Okay, so these are absolutely the best blocks ever to me. Yeah, I love a churn dash. I am doing well, Katie. And it's Shirley. I know you asked at one of your lives you couldn't remember my name, but it is Shirley. What do I want to do now? I want to use my... I want to use my letter opener just to release a little bit of that glue, just so I can press my seams open nice. And I'll just run that along. And now, if I've stitched everything together and my pattern was right, my templates were right, my stitching was perfect, this should come out to be 9.5 inches unfinished. My seam is nice there, match is good there, and now we'll just press this open. Whoops. Magic juice. And Katie says, thank you for reminding me of that, Shirley. For whatever reason, I couldn't remember what your first name was. No problem. There's some that I can't remember first names. I know I should put it at the end, but so far it's like I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Put around to it, Shirley. That's what my email is, so. Okay, last pressing seam open. And I always am so satisfied when I finish something and it comes together beautifully. No wonkiness in the block. That's what I like about FPP. So we'll press that one open. And this is kind of a blah block. But I'm sure when I put it together with something else, it'll look just fine. Yeah, Katie says, it's weird. I never forget a face, but I don't speak to someone on a regular basis. Their name... Oh, yeah, their name flies right out of my brain. You're right. Yep. Oh, and you know what? Okay, for some reason, I'm looking at the chat, and I'm on my other channel, my personal channel. Yeah, and it's, yeah, I'm sure it's showing up on something else here, but okay, we're at 156, 20. So we've got 4 minutes. And there is the block. And to go with the other block, whoops. So there's the other one. And when we put it together, I don't know, I'll probably put sashing or something. Oh, I guess you can't see that, can you? So now let's measure it. Let's measure it. And I have found rulers do not measure correctly, and neither do these. That's why I never use my cutting mat. So now it should be 9.5 inches unfinished, and to me it looks very square. And there is my 9.5, and there is my 9.5, and there is my 9.5. So there it is, no squaring up or anything. Well, I'm a hot mess. Brain fried by sea. Oh, you don't have COVID again, do you, Ellen? If you do, that'll be... Oh. I know you went through a rough time with COVID. Seriously, do you have COVID again? It's really kicking your butt if you do. Oh, I hate that COVID word. Anyway, there is the block. Now, what else? I was supposed to tell you some. Oh, I know. Freezer paper. Okay, here are my templates that I used for my fabrics. I will now go and, because I do have... No, not again. I just have had it a lot. Yeah, I have brain fog from fibromyalgia, so... So these are the templates I need. And on here, because I've written print 2 and print 1, I'm just going to put this up here. Just give me a second. Okay, so on my board here, this is where I was taking my fabrics from, and you can see that before I had cut extra fabrics, and I have everything laid out on here. So then now when I want to use the white pieces there, I can make another block. And so I know that I need print 2, this one's print 1, I'll just separate them, and then I'll pick another 2 prints. And I'll just give you a quick, so very plain. I could have used different color fabrics, but it's what I had. So it's strange how some have C many times, while some of us haven't had it at all. I know I haven't had it either. So, but okay, now the neat thing about the freezer paper, and again, remember on my patterns at the bottom of the sheet, I do put the name of the pattern. This is a CHURN Dash block, giving you the sizes and everything. My email is at the bottom and everything. But now when I'm cutting out, what do I do with the excess freezer paper? Don't throw it out. These are my scraps. I have some over here too. But you know these little pieces here that you cut off? I don't have a really mess, but what I'll do is I'll put some thread on there. And I keep a little bin with thread, okay? And that's the thread that cuts off. I save it for my daughter because she does junk journaling. So I save thread for her, so she uses it in her junk journaling. And this is the scraps made from one 9.5-inch block, doing it the freezer paper. And anything else that was cut off that I didn't use from the piece of fabric is still usable. So now I'm going to put some threads down. I'm just going to switch the camera back to the desk so you can see this. Don't throw away your freezer paper. Just a minute here. Okay. Oop. Oops, not what I wanted. There we are. Okay. You got threads. Save your little pieces. I'll make a big mess here. So there's my threads, okay? If I was cutting something and I have lots of threads, do you really want to be picking up all those threads? No, you take a piece of freezer paper and your iron, and you iron them on your freezer paper. My iron isn't quite as hot. If I was using my other iron, it's a little bit hotter. But it will pick up your threads. And you can just throw this away. Take it one that I cut off. And just press away. And it will pick up all your things. Saves on, you know, those lint rollers. And I also use this to wrap my fabrics. I'll just take a piece of this, iron it onto the fabric, and there you go. Nice and clean. The only thing is I've got on my jeans, on my pants, I have thread, but I'm not going to use this to iron it off. That would be just terrible. I'd end up with a burn. So anyway, that's what I use my excess freezer paper for. And I don't have to buy all the lint rollers. So let's see what the chat's doing. Yeah, Ellen says, each time it's easy to get through it, but the damage is tremendous, yes. And Ellen says, I have EQ8 up and working now. I like how I can design in the software and print it out to share. Great, Ellen, I'm glad to hear that. I can't afford EQ8, so I just had to, I do my creating in the Silhouette software. They've had problems with it now, but for the business edition, which gives you all the options in the program, and it's really not designed for that, for quilting, but that's what I use, is the Silhouette one. And it's, right now I think it's US, I think it's $100, and there's no extra charge. You never have to pay for updates or anything like that. If you go from the basic, which is free, up to the business edition, which is the one, it's like no extra charge or whatever. So I guess I should change back to you seeing me. Yeah, if I could afford EQ8, I probably would buy it. I did purchase a design program for my sewing machine, which is it's now called My SewNet, and they charge you like $50 a month, and I can't afford that. But I just use the basic version. And, or no, I have the old version, which is Premier Plus, and that gives me everything I need to do to design my own quilting designs and do edge-to-edge quilting on my sewing machine. So I hope you all enjoyed today. I know I did. I know what I was going to show you. Excuse me just for 1 minute. I have somewhere put, here it is, ta-da! The next block that I'm going to be making is this one, and it is this one I made. It's FPP as well, but I fussy cut the gnomes so that you could see the gnomes in each one of them. And that one is FPP as well. And I did it in 4 rows. The churn dash, I just had 3, but I did it, this one, in 4. Now, a lot of blocks, like if they're 9-inch, then you usually have to go up to 12-inch, I think, or whatever, in some of the programs. I can actually take a block and make it a specific size, like depending on like each one of these squares. And if you have a 9-inch block, each one of those sections has to be a certain size. And normally what they'll do is they'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, or 1.5. It's sort of in increments like that. I can take anything and make it a specific size. So that is the next block. Now, this is a table runner that I made a couple of years ago. And I had some gnome fabric, and I wanted to test out the block. And the block itself, I think, was made up of half square triangles and flying geese and everything like that. Or no, I think it was all half square triangles. And I converted it instead of half square triangles because I wanted to use the, I wanted to fussy cut. And if I would have made them all into half square triangles, I wouldn't have been able to see the gnomes that are in here. So that's why I converted it and made it into that. So I'll just stand back a bit and you can see it. It's not finished yet. But that's what it is. It's a big table runner, but anyway, that's on my list to be quilted before before the middle of November, so I have to get at doing some quilting. Yeah, oh, you're welcome, Alan. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your comments. That really makes my day. And I know you're going to love designing blocks and printing them out for people. You're awesome. I like that you can alternate the size of the block. Yeah. And I like the program because I can do what I like doing best, and that's FPP, because it comes out so don't like to say perfect, accurate. Like on my one block there, all my blocks that I made, except for one, my points. I lost my points on one, and I can't figure out where I lost them. And it's nothing to do with the pattern, because the other blocks came out fine. But on the one block, my points, I cut the tips off of them for some reason. So it was something that I did wrong, and not wrong, I just didn't do it right. Again, no negativity. Okay, thank you much. Okay, if you make a quilt for a man that's 6'4", how long should the quilt be? Okay, 6'4", I would give it at least 8 feet. Because I don't think a man 6'4" is going to roll up or bunch up his feet. So you want enough to cover here. So 8 feet is what? 96 inches? 96, yeah. Now, I'd say 96 inches long. That's a guess. Yeah, you just need to make it longer. And depending on the width. Yeah. And the thing is that if it doesn't come out exactly like the right size or a size that you want, add borders. If you don't like matching seams in blocks, add sashing. You don't have to match seams. So, any questions? Picking a pattern that'll stretch that far. Holy crap! Yeah, yeah. I don't know whether you can buy blankets, blankets long enough for a guy that's 6'4". You know, I think blankets come in standard sizes. I know I have blankets and I like to tuck my blankets in so the covers don't come up and my feet get cold. But sometimes they're just not long enough to do that sort of tuck in at the end and still be able to cover yourself unless you scooch down in the bed. So who's 6'4" in your life, Lori? Is that your husband? I know I'm getting nosy now. I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be asking personal questions. So, that is about it for me today. If you have any questions, and I will put the PDF files. I just don't have them. Oh, son's client. Okay. I will put the PDF files that I have created to make a churn dash block this size. It'll include the coloring sheet and the 5 pages, I think it is. And if you want it, it'll be in PDF below the video later. I'm still learning to take the files that I create in the Silhouette software, save them as a PDF, because I have to save them 1 page at a time, and then I have to put them into the PDF program or software, and then upload them to YouTube and everything like that. So it takes me a little bit of time. I'm still new at it, but they will be in there. And Kathy says, Shirley, thank you so much for teaching us how to make FPP churn dash block. Great live. Thank you very much, Kathy. I appreciate all the support and comments. And as soon as I get the files and everything done for the star block that I'm going to be making, that will be a Christmas, it'll be a Christmas block too that I'm making. And thank you, Gladys, for being moderator and sharing. And thank you everyone for coming, and I'll say goodbye for now, and we'll see you in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.